Hello, welcome back to the channel. Quickpen once said, "There are many talented kids in the streets of Nigeria, which if invested on, they will become world beaters. Hope my story inspires parents, guardians, governments, organizations, Nigerians at large to take interest in child development." Fantastic. Thank you Quickpen for this great insight. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a historical game which happened between Uganda vs Nigeria in round 10. Chess Olympiad Budapest Hungary on board 4 between FIDE master Nsubuga Haruna from Uganda vs Quickpen Deborah from Nigeria. Remember, both countries missed the first 3 rounds because of visa-related issues, meaning this was the death match. The two players had a 300 elo difference, making the game too interesting to watch. Board 1 Nigeria had FIDE master Kiga Bomo Lovet, Quickpen's coach, who crushed I am Arthur Segwanji from Uganda without forgiveness. So before the game, Ugandans were saying, "Board for Nigeria has a girl? Ha ha ha." This is a sure win for Uganda. Unfortunately, things went sideways when FIDE master Nsubuga Haruna stepped in Quickpen's prep. So about Quickpen, Quickpen learned to play chess at the age of 3 under the direction and guidance of her family and the initial mentorship of former national champion FM Bomo Gihiga. Bomo is a seasoned veteran with 4 national championships and 6 Olympiad appearances for Nigeria. He is one of the leading promoters of youth chess in Nigeria. He noticed something in the young Quickpen. She mentioned that she appreciated the confidence he instilled in her. So she won the under 10 title with 9 out of 10 at the African Youth Chess Championships. At the age 11, she won the Nigerian Women's Championship and placed 4th in the 2023 African Individual Championships. Having just turned 12, she is set to make a breakthrough. So about FM Nsubuga Haruna, he is the reigning 2024 Continental Africa Champion in the amateurs section. He has represented Uganda on multiple Olympiads, and he recently qualified to play in the 2023 World Cup after beating most of Uganda's elite players, and was eliminated in round 1 by James Julius Mossad from France after drawing the first game and lost the second game in the World Cup. Ladies and gentlemen, let the fireworks begin. FIDE master Nsubuga Haruna is in the white pieces, and Quickpen Deborah, the golden girl, is in the black pieces. FM opened with e4, and Deborah played c5, knight f3, knight c6, and after d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4. So we are in the Sicilian territories. There are various ways how black can continue in this position. Black can play either e6 or g6 depending on the situation at hand. But in this game, Deborah decided to play g6, taking us to the accelerated Sicilian dragon. FM played knight takes c6. So after pawn takes c6, FM played queen d4. Now you see queen d4 is a simple move, hitting directly to the rook, stopping the immediate development of the bishop g7. So Deborah played knight f6. And after e5, the move which is always seen in this game is always coming to play knight d5. For example, after knight d5, e6, sacrificing the pawn at the same time attacking the rook which is on h8, and black has no time to win the pawn which is on e6, so that's why black plays f6, and after e takes d7, bishop takes d7, knight c3, so that black is going to have rapid piece development beginning with pawn e5, bishop coming to g7, short castling. That's why after pawn e5, Deborah played knight h5, played knight c3. In case you play, there's a trap which happens after. In case you play bishop g7, then white wins the game on the spot by playing g4, which traps the knight on h5. That's why after knight c3, Deborah played knight g7, maneuvering back the knight on e6 to hit the queen which is on d4, and after bishop d3, knight e6, queen h4. Also queen f4 should have been considered, bishop g7, f4, threatening to play f5. In this position, that was an interesting variation which would begin with queen b6, and after f5, g takes f5, bishop takes f5, knight d4, hitting on a bishop and threatening to take the pawn on c2, bishop d3, bishop s6, and after bishop takes s6, knight takes c2. Let's go back. So after f4, Deborah played a simple move. She played d6. Pawn takes d6, pawn takes d6, and fm exchange the queen. Queen takes d8, king takes d8, taking away the castling rights from Deborah. And in this position, fm played knight e4, king c7, defending the pawn which is on d6 by the king. And after c3, rook e8 should have been considered, but Deborah played c5, trying to open up for the bishop to come and sit on its diagonal. Bishop e3, bishop b7, short castling f5. Now Deborah pushes f5 by herself, as fm failed to push f5. Knight d2, rook e8. Then fm played king coming into f2 to defend the bishop which is on e3, just in case anything happens. So in this position, Deborah played f5, trying to get more space. Rook d1, bishop c6, and after knight c4, Deborah played a very strong move. Deborah played d5, knight f3, and after knight coming into b5 should have been considered, but fm played knight e5, which was a huge mistake in the game, and Deborah capitalized on it and she played knight takes f4, very strong move. And after bishop takes f4, bishop takes f4, capturing back the piece, and fm played bishop e3. In this position, you see the bishop is attacking the pawn which is on c5, and Deborah played bishop d6. But there was an interesting variation which would begin with c4, hitting on the bishop. After bishop e2, trying to bring the bishop on f3 to attack the pawn which is on d5. Then Deborah would play bishop takes h2. In case of g3, trying to trap the bishop with moves of rook coming in to take, or the king comes in to take, then bishop takes g3 check. And after king takes g3, rook takes e3. In this position, Deborah would win the game on the spot because of these 3 pawns. Let's go back. But after bishop e3, Deborah played bishop d6, defending the pawn on c5, and fm played b3. In this position still, Deborah would win the game on the spot by playing f4, and after bishop c1, c4, a very strong move. And in case of b takes c4, bishop c5, you see that all these squares have been cut off by the rook, and also the king can't go anywhere because of this bishop, and the king has only one square, which is king coming to f3. And after king comes to f3, then d takes c4, checking the king at the same time attacking the bishop which is on d3. This would give Deborah an extra piece and winning the game on the spot. But however, after b3, Deborah played f4. Then fm played b4, c takes b4, c takes b4, bishop takes b4. In this position, fm sacrificed the pawn to have rapid play, and he played rook b1, attacking the bishop, rook b8, defending the bishop, rook b1. It was an interesting move which would begin bishop f3, asking for rook exchange, and the game would go on smoothly. But however, Deborah played king d7, moving away from all the potential checks which could happen in the game. And after bishop a7, rook b7, bishop d4, then rook b8, aligning the two rooks. In case of any bishop move, then bishop can still drop back to d6. It means there would be no work done. Rook c2. So here there are no bishop discoveries to win the rook, because the same rook can take the bishop, which happens to be on e1. That's why you see Deborah played bishop d6, rook takes b7, rook takes b7. And after h4, trying to cramp the pawns which are connected by Deborah, Deborah played rook b4, attacking the bishop at the same time attacking the pawn which is on h4. Bishop f6, defending the pawn which is on h4. Bishop b5, asking for an exchange. White couldn't decline the exchange because the bishop had nowhere to go. That's why you see bishop takes b5, rook takes b5. And after king f3, king coming to e3 should have been considered. Rook b4, attacking the pawn and also cutting off the king from moving in front. Bishop g5, a3, threatening to play rook b2, winning the pawn. Rook d2, attacking the pawn, so the bishop is defending the rook, which is on d2. d4, and after rook d1, bishop c5, h5. Deborah played rook b2, attacking the pawn, which is on a2, and after rook c1, attacking the bishop. d6 would win the game on the spot, and after bishop f4, king d5, rook a1, g takes h5. This would give Deborah a huge advantage, but however, after rook c1, Deborah played bishop d6. Then FM played rook e1, bishop c5, rook e5, attacking the bishop, which is on c5. Then king comes to c6, not putting the king in any of the dark squares, only moving the king in the white squares. So in this position, FM played bishop e7, asking for an exchange so that the rook can land on this square on e7 and then take these pawns and try to push also the pawn to get a more advantage. Bishop takes e7, rook takes e7. Deborah played a very strong move in the end game. Pawn takes g5, rook takes h7, and then she played rook takes a2. Gotten another extra passed pawn, and remember, as Kasparov says it, passed pawns have to be pushed, and you see the king can't come anywhere closer to the passed pawn, which is on d4. Very fantastic strategy in the end game. Rook h6 check, king c5. Now the king is coming on to support the pawn so that the pawn can move in front and can get a queen. Rook takes h5. She even sacrificed another pawn on f5 and she played rook b2. And after rook takes f5, king c4. In this position, FM will try to go ahead at least to play g4, but it will still be too late because now the pawn has only two squares which it can use to queen. So rook a5, trying to stop the pawn from queening. a2, supporting the pawn, and also trying to come in with the king and then support the pawn to queen. So rook goes to a8. d3, still also pushing, passed pawns have to pushing the passed pawn. Rook c8 check, king b3, supporting the pawn, and the king wants to come in. The pawn comes in and also supports the pawn to queen. Rook a8, king c2. Now the root of the king now is very known. Even pawn is going to be moving forward. And after rook c8 check, king b1. And in this position, FM played rook d8, trying to lure back Deborah to go ahead and push the pawn, but Deborah sacrificed the pawn and played, got a queen, and then FM played rook takes d3. In this position, Deborah had a checkmate in 9, and she played queen a8 check, attacking the pawn, which is on g2, and after king e3, queen takes g2, rook d6, and in this position there was checkmate in 6, even potential checks of queen check and taking the rook, which is on d6. In this position, FIDE Master Nsubuga Haruna resigned and the match ended in 2-2, and the match was drawn. That Nigeria and Uganda drew the match with the win on board 1 from coach Domo from Nigeria and the win on board 4 from Quickpen from Nigeria. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I hope you subscribe, like and comment to support it, and I wish you the best of luck in your games.